So I just saw something really interesting about AI on Threads. So this is Rants 1500 having a conversation with the CEO or founder of Suno, right? Who's like, if you don't know what Suno is, it's this big like music AI software, right? And I think this conversation really reveals what people aren't understanding about the problem with AI. But first, let's just take a listen to what they're talking about.
So how do you feel about people putting AI artists out? That's something that I don't really all the way agree with at all, because it comes from, I mean, we're human, people, it's about the experience you give people as a human that makes people connect, you know what I mean? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there is no music, there is no art without the person behind it. We like the way things sound, but we also like the message it sends, and we also like the person who's delivering that message. And I don't think you can really remove the person from the message.
Right.
That doesn't mean that the vehicle that delivers the message, that doesn't have to be the person who's making it. Like originally people thought it would be silly to watch somebody play a concert off of his laptop, except that, now that's actually a huge thing, right? And so I feel quite strongly that it's impossible to really take the human out of this process if it's going to be art and if it's going to be music. And I think this is very different.
So I think that the CEO of Suno loves that the conversation is going in this direction, because it allows him to pull this insane misdirection where he compares AI music to playing concerts off of your laptop, right? Like, those things are not even remotely the same, and that gets into what the actual fundamental issue is with AI from my perspective. It's not one of like creative integrity, it's one of ethical integrity. It's literally theft of intellectual property. But before we move on any further, I do want to let you know that Rance is not like a jokey joke guy. This man is Grammy nominated and Grammy award winning. He's got like placements with basically everyone that you can think of in multiple genres, right? He's not locked into one specific genre. He can play multiple instruments. He's very talented. So I actually respect him a lot, and nothing I'm going to say is a knock on him at all. Like, I'm actually very glad that he's, for one, having this conversation with people at the top level concerning this matter, and that he's publicizing, right, what he's discussing, because he's kind of bringing us into the room, and it gives me the opportunity to have these kinds of discussions on my channel. But I will say that I think this guy, who is the founder of Suno, loves that the conversation is going in this direction, because it completely ignores the actual problem with AI, which is ethics, right? Whether or not you agree with it being like an actual act of creativity, whether or not you think people will prefer AI creativity versus like completely 100% user generated creativity, is almost non-factorial in my perspective. The actual problem with AI is how it's created. It's created in a very non-ethical way. It's fundamentally non-ethical because they didn't ask the people they trained the models off of before they trained the model off of it, right? So they trained the model off of your music. They trained the model off of your content. They trained the model off of my YouTube videos. They trained the model off of music that I placed with artists, right? They trained the model off of rants, his music. They train the model off of music he's played in content. They train the model off of things he's done for companies and for his own brand, right? That's what they're training the model off of. Now, maybe Rance is getting paid for, having this conversation. Maybe he's someone who's been compensated by Suno, but I can tell you, I have not been, you have not been, and I doubt there's anyone else out there who's been compensated by Suno, even though I would venture to say most musicians who have music out in the public have probably been used to train these models, especially if you have any amount of like acclaim or success. And that can be anywhere from a few thousand monthly listeners to having placements with artists that are established and have followings, which could be anywhere from 1,000 monthly listeners to 100,000, a million, right? If you're getting in the algorithm and you're getting traction, you were probably used to train one of these models. If not Suno, probably another model. And so again, the issue for me is not like, is it creative? Does it have integrity from an artistic point of view? That's a valid discussion, but that's not the discussion that gets to the heart of what the actual problem with AI is. Again, the actual problem is theft. So if you don't know, the way AI is trained is by teaching it based on data it's received so that it can make decisions based on queries that you input into the AI. So the only way that it can do this is through large learning models. Forgive me, it's called a large language model, and it's a type of artificial intelligence that excels at processing, understanding, and generating human language by being trained on massive amounts of text data. Now, that specifically applies to text, but now you can use these language models, these large learning models, to train for things like drawing, painting, and music, right? So they're using data without compensating the people they're getting the data from to train these models and these AI software, which they then sell to other people and make millions and billions of dollars without compensating the people that they use to train the model in the first place. And that's the real issue. And I think it's interesting because this misdirection is incredibly successful. If you ask any artist, any musician, any creative what their problem with AI is, their two main concerns are going to be the artistic integrity or the fact that they feel like they'll have to compete with AI for listenership and audienceship without understanding that the real problem is that they are being stolen from. And it's everywhere. It literally came up in my Discord like this morning, right? There's someone who says making music has changed now that AI has arrived in beat making too. It makes it even more difficult. And these companies love that people are thinking like this. And I do love Five's response. Bump AI music, absolutely. It can't capture emotion and the flourishes in your music that a capable producer can create. I say don't give it any mind and keep trapping. I absolutely 100% believe that, because from the perspective of just AI art versus user-generated art, I think that's always going to be the thing that makes human-created art trump it. We were having this conversation in my Discord the other day, and I was saying, like, there's just something that AI art is missing at the end of the day, but still it's going to make money regardless, right? It's going to be something that does entertain a decent amount of people, and we know that because these guys are already making billions of dollars. So I like that Saya really addressed the issue, and he said that he's hoping that there's a plugin that gets developed to scramble audio data on our beats so that they can't easily get scraped and copied by large language models. That is the heart of the issue, right? They are stealing, for one, and it's unauthorized and it's uncompensated. So it's like, for one, they're not even compensating you. They're just taking it and they're not even compensating you. But then there's a second level of ethical concern where they're not even asking you if you want to be compensated in the first place. Because even if they were going to compensate you, you should still have the right to say, oh, but I don't want to be a part of this large language model. I don't want my art to be scraped and used to train this AI to make music, right? To make art. I would rather it not be like that. You should have the right to say that, and you should have the right to opt in so that you can be compensated if your data is going to be used to train the model. And that's the real issue with AI that I don't see people discussing. They're more concerned with the artistic integrity and competition with AI, and that is just so far away from the problem. But these companies would love for you to keep focusing on that so that they can keep making a shit ton of money by getting away with the real crime, which is stealing from you and me. So I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. Join my Discord if you want to hop in the conversation, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.